This is the best transparent keyboard on the market, or at least that's what my first impression was. It's the Redragon Elf Pro. This product arrived at my doorstep a few weeks ago, and initially I was very impressed. It comes in this unique clear design, it sounds good, the RGB is poppin', and it's only $89, way cheaper than other transparent keyboards. So after getting a chance to tinker with it, I became aware of a problem with this keyboard. It all has to do with this little feature called the gasket mount. When I first saw that, I was actually very excited. Gasket mounting is something that is typically reserved for expensive customs. For those of you that don't know, it's done with rubber gaskets or silicone or porcelain or whatever material placed inside the case that cushion every keystroke. It's like typing on soft clouds. It's bouncier and it feels better. However, I was a little skeptical of this gasket mount, especially coming from Redragon, known for their budget keyboards. Being the huge keyboard nerd that I am, who is a little too into mechanical keyboards, I'll take a look at how well they actually implemented it, and at one point, I even broke an important piece of the keyboard while disassembling it. Now in Redragon's defense, I probably went a little too far with the tinkering, but it could present an issue, so I'll get to that later. And I really want to make my mom proud and send her the gold play button to hang on her wall, so please subscribe. I need this. Let's take a closer look at the keyboard, the Redragon Elf Pro, and see if it can find redemption. Now this keyboard arrived in a gray box with the keyboard shown on the front. Ready for battle? I popped open the box and slid out another box. This one with subtle Redragon branding in the form of a black dragon. Then I gently slid open the second case to reveal the keyboard. Finally, my first reaction was, wow, it's very clear. The keycaps, case, and even the switches are see-through. This is definitely interesting. I pulled the keyboard out, flipped the switch on the side, and boom! RGB everywhere. In the box, you also get an average unbraided white USB-C cable and a combined keycap and switch puller, and extra switches, 4 of them, just in case. The usual stuff, no complaints here. Naturally, with the keyboard sitting in front of me, I got the urge to start typing on it, so I cracked my knuckles and got to click-clacking away. And to be honest, I was shocked. The keyboard sounds really good. The stabs are well lubricated and there's little to no rattle. It's not an entirely stiff experience, although I was expecting more flex from the keyboard being gasket mounted and all. So I pushed down on the keys to see if there was any give, and oh, nothing is moving. That's when the first problem started to rear its ugly head. Usually with a gasket mount, the whole keyboard PCB will move up and down, but this didn't. And even weirder, the whole keyboard started creaking. That can't be good. Just listen to it. So with these 2 red flags, the stiff board and the weird creaking noise, I made a mental note to check it out when I took the keyboard apart later. Now the keyboard comes in a 75% layout, which is by far one of the most popular layouts at the moment, and for good reason too. You get all the function without taking up any extra space. Function, haha. Function row. It's economic and space efficient. You get the arrow keys, a function row, and nav keys too. I like that they chose to put the delete key in the top right. It makes 100% sense. Not sure why other people try to put the delete key anywhere else, like on a secondary layer. Why? Usually the knob would go in that spot, but in this case, the keyboard is knobless, but I'm oddly okay with it. I've seen so many knobs over the past few years, it's nice when it's just a keyboard and no knob. The Elf Pro is quite heavy too, although it might not seem like it at first. With everything being so clear, it looks weightless, like a strong breeze could take it, but the various layers of sound dampening foams definitely gives it more heft, and you can see all the layers right through the see-through case, which is very cool. The case has a slight recess on the sides and it adds some flair to the style, but more importantly, it makes it easy to pick up without slipping. You can't fit your entire finger under there, but it's just enough to pick up the keyboard and not have it slip out of your hands. And through the sides, you can see the layer of silicone on the bottom of the case, along with a layer of silicone between the plate and PCB. And you also see the gaskets through the top of the case, and boy, those are really shiny, but they hold a dark secret. The case itself is entirely made of crystal plastic. It's not opaque at all. It would be nice if there was a little bit of opaqueness to diffuse the light a bit, but it's not bad. And at the back, we've got 2 kick-up feet angles if you want to increase the typing angle or that sweet incline. Okay, so far so good. You also have a compartment on the side for a 2.4 GHz wireless dongle. Losing the dongle is everyone's worst nightmare, especially mine. So it's nice to be able to store it on the keyboard. You can also connect it via wired or Bluetooth if you're feeling spunky. And you know what makes me feel spunky? My people, hit the bell icon down below. Bloop. Well, let's take a closer look at the actual design of the keycaps. They can make or break a keyboard. Like the case, the keycaps are entirely clear and come in a black font, which is easy to read and is somewhat minimalistic. Now, I'm personally not a huge fan of the Red Dragon branding on the side or the added designs next to the keycap legends such as the backspace, enter, tab, and spacebar. I mean, who's really ready for battle? Surely not I. With the clear design, less is more, and adding all of the extra designs takes away from the overall aesthetic, but that comes down more to preference. Funnily enough though, Red Dragon has sent me clear keycaps in the past and I vastly prefer those. They're super simple. I wonder why they chose not to use them here. Also, did you know they offer an entire bare bones version of this keyboard where you can build it the way you want? So if you don't like the keycaps or the switches, you can get rid of them. But I don't know if I recommend that version at this moment due to the issues I had with the keyboard, which I'll get into soon. The switches in this build are the Red Dragon crystal switches and they feel pretty good. They're linear switches that come pre-lubed. This means you don't need to pop open the switches and lube them by hand. They come all ready to go. A huge time saver. They're lightweight to type on and don't feel over-lubed. Sometimes the factory can go a little ham with the lubing, and when you start typing, you can hear the sound of wet farts echoing out of your switches. But not in this case. The keyboard also comes with universal hot swappable sockets, which basically means you can swap out the switches with any MX style switch. Booyah! Red Dragon also did a great job with the stabs, such as this spacebar. Listen to that pop. They come already tuned and pre-lubed, and they did a really good job here. There's no ticking or unwanted sounds present when typing. They're also crystal clear, going well with the entire theme of the keyboard. But now that that's out of the way, let's take a look inside this case and check out these gaskets. This is where we run into a few issues. After taking it apart, it looks like you get two sheets of silicone, one for the bottom case and another that goes in between the plate and PCB. These seem high quality and include cutouts for all of the components, but I want to get a closer look at the plate and the gaskets. So it looks like the plate, PCB, and battery are all attached to each other. So let's pull off this battery and oops, I broke the plate. That can't be good. Don't panic. The plate now has a crack in it, and if you bend the plate, the whole thing buckles. That's not good. Apparently, you can't just pull the battery off, and I definitely did not expect for the plate to break that easily. It looks like a singular screw held the battery to the plate and PCB, so I should have torn the battery off to access the screw, which I was trying to do, but the adhesive is so strong that the plate broke. Apparently, the keyboard's not meant to be taken that far apart. I feel like I need a warning on the box or something not to do that, but perhaps we just ventured too far into the unknown. They explained what caused the issue, and it's from a process called electroplating, and it's what gives the plate this shiny look. It also presents another big problem, which I'll get into soon. But this plate, wow, I am shocked by how flexible it is. This thing bends almost a little too much. The plate is made out of plastic, so it makes sense. It's funny how things have come full circle. Back in the day, we used to complain when keyboards were made of plastic because it wasn't durable, but now we complain when things are made of aluminum because the typing experience is too rigid. Now you get plastic as a feature. But let's side that discussion for now. Wait, where are the gaskets? I couldn't find them in the box, and after looking, I realized the gaskets are already attached to the plate. It looks like they took the plate with the gaskets attached and electroplated the entire thing. What? So if you don't already know, electroplating is a process where the item, in this case the plate and gaskets, are dipped into a chemical fluid that produces a thin metal layer on the outside of the plate. It's a whole process called electrolysis, and it's what gives the plate the shiny silver metal look. While it looks cool, this electroplating process comes with a big downside. It adds brittleness to the keyboard. That's why the plate cracked so easily when I was trying to remove the battery. It makes sense now. But back to the gaskets. They're completely covered in this electroplated material. I was curious to see if that impacted the performance of them at all, so I pressed down on one of them with my fingers only to realize they're completely solid. The gaskets feel like they're made entirely of hard plastic. That can't be right. Usually they're rubber or silicone because the whole reason you have them in the first place is because they compress when they're pressed down on. But these are hard. Here's what a normal gasket looks like versus this one, and the difference is shocking. Look at the difference in the amount they move when squeezed. There's no way the gaskets on this keyboard are made of plastic, right? To figure out for sure, I grabbed a pair of flush cutters and cut open the gasket. This revealed the internals a whole lot better. You can see a plastic plate inserted into another material. The material on the outside, which works as the gasket, looks to be a very stiff rubber. So yes, this keyboard does in fact have rubber, or at least rubber-like gaskets. But with the electroplating and hard hardens the outside of the already stiff rubber to a point where the gaskets virtually do nothing. So while it's technically gasket mounted, it doesn't feel like a gasket mount. And that's why nothing moved when I pressed on the PCB earlier. Well, it's a little disappointing, so the gasket mount is a bust. It looks like the biggest issue with this board stems from the electroplating, so if Red Dragon ever does switch to a spray paint design instead, this keyboard could actually be really good. Just beware in the future, if you're ordering a budget keyboard with a gasket mount, it might not be what you're looking for. I'd like to thank Micro Center for sponsoring this video. Instead of shopping online and waiting, go to one of Micro Center's 25 stores nationwide to get your tech right now. And they're opening a store in Indianapolis this summer. I might go check out the launch. Micro Center sells some great gaming peripherals, such as the GMMK Pro and the Logitech G Pro X Superlight. Just walk in, grab the stuff, and be prepared to game right away. No more waiting 2 to 7 days for it. If you need a PC upgrade, Micro Center is also my go-to place for buying anything related to PCs. Use their online PC builder to get compatible and in-stock parts, then go pick it up the same day, or get a pro to build it for you with same-day pro assembly. Right now, Micro Center's got a special deal for you. New customers can get a coupon using the link in the description.